Okay, with John Martinez, The Days of Night is the short film played at the Crime Mystery Film Festival. So, we'll get into your film in a second, but I want to your blog, your bio. It said that you worked in the service for 25 years, and this is your first film, correct?
Yeah, I worked at a college. I got the job in the federal government. I was a federal agent for 25 years. I worked in the Border Patrol for 9 years and with DHS for 16. And I retired 2 years ago. So that's kind of my story. And after I retired, I decided to knock one of those things off my bucket list, and that's to create a short film to see what would happen. So after I retired, just taking classes, learning how to be a filmmaker, and finally I said, I think I have a good enough foundation. Let's try it. And I think that was the most nervous part is saying action after doing everything to see what would happen.
So you're based in Arizona. You're at the border in Arizona.
When I started my career, I was in New Mexico in Demings, little town off of I-10. And then after
Okay.
6 years, I went up to the northern border in upstate New York in Messina and was there for 3 years. And then I ventured off to San Francisco.
Oh wow, I'm from Niagara Falls, so I'm a border kid.
Oh, actually, I'm from Albany. So I'm from went to Cortland College, and that's how I got recruited. Went through the student union, saw a recruiter there, and like every college student, I needed a job, and I got seduced to join.
Because before 9/11, we used to basically go get gas there, and basically the border they knew us for the locals, and they used to just wave at them and say hi. And then when you came back, they're like, "Hey, you're Canadian, come back." And
Yep.
then of course everything kind of changed after 9/11.
Yeah, yeah. It got interesting where when we were up in Messina, we would work with the RCMP out there and talk to all those guys out there. So it was even though that happened in the U.S., it impacted everyone on the border. So everyone was more vigilant with what's going on out there. But yeah, it's changed a lot of things.
Yeah, a good friend of mine works for border control, so that's it's just 25 years of service. I didn't know what that means. So obviously, do people bug you because of the immigration and border, crossing is such a huge like political topic now.
Yeah, some people are asking like what's really going on
Yeah,
and
what's really going
spending.
on?
It's busy. It's busy. There's it's a lot. I won't say it's worse than, make people nervous, but there's a lot going on down there. And
Yeah,
it's something where we definitely need to get control. And obviously our northern border as well is being impacted. They're seeing record numbers, and it's just the unknowns that scares me and should scare everyone else coming in. Those folks that actually want to better their lives, they're coming in and they're giving up. What worries myself and everyone else is those folks that don't do that, may have more nefarious ideas on
sure.
what they want to do. So yeah,
But
it's
is it fair to say that it's less than people think though? Like I think people just want to because it's crap at home where they've come from. They're coming here for a reason, right?
yeah, a lot of them come here and just hearing stories. I think they were given promises of like of a job and everything else,
Sure.
and they get here. There's just so many people coming over, and it's kind of heartbreaking that a lot of these people are ending up in like New York City, and after so many months, they're let out of whatever hotel there are. Now they're trying to survive. So it's impacting a lot of people from literally. I think there's like 170 countries that have made entry into the US. So it's
Yeah.
literally almost every place on the planet has come here. So yeah, it's a big issue, big topic.
And then you got, sorry, I'll move on after this, but then you
Sure,
got a
no, no, no,
guy
no. This is good.
who's running for president who says he's going to round, if he wins, he's going to round up everybody up. I don't know how that could happen, like how that's a thing, because that when that one that would cost a lot of money, and two, you might round up the wrong people, and that would be
Yeah,
a little bit of like a little bit of a screw up, I guess, right? So, but
yeah. I think what the goal is just to look at those people that are the biggest threats to the country, because not everyone obviously is coming over here to cause harm, but
sure,
there's enough people that may want to cause harm. And I think that's probably the president's goal is just to prioritize. And we've been doing that since 25 years. It's always go after the most
of course,
serious criminal. And there's people out there that we use our discretion to allow them to stay or make arrangements to go in. So it's not, how can I say, it's not as black and white as people make it out.
of
It's very
course.
gray, and a lot of people out there are compassionate and humanitarian and sees what's going on. And I think the president's just aiming to get those threats that I don't think any one of us would want to walk down the street with that would
Well,
cause us harm. So I think that's
I
like I
think he's
said,
just
it
trying to. I think he's just trying to gain votes. I don't think he gives a crap about anybody. But that's just my opinion. So basically, like Yeah, for 30 plus years, I've followed this guy. Yeah, he doesn't really care, but basically, but it's a good political issue, right? So
Yeah, yeah, it's a hot topic, hot button topic.
100%. All right, let's talk about your film. So basically, you did your service. You're basically still a young man. You don't have to say your age, but you're still a very young man. And then so you had this opportunity where like you can go to school. You love film. I'm assuming you're a big fan of films, and you're like, I want to learn filmmaking. So that was the next step, I guess, right?
Yeah, when I was in high school, I got a scholarship to go play football in New York City, and I wanted to go to NYU. I don't think I had the grades to get into that program, so I had to put that on the back burner. Plus, I was given a scholarship to play, so I had to put that on hold. But yeah, it's one of those things where always fascinated by the movies. I actually worked in the movie theater during high school, so from 93 to 97, I probably saw every movie and every movie trailer out there, and just got hooked. And just when I retired, I said, this is a good time now that I actually have, more of experience. I actually have the funds to actually make this, where before we were using
Mhm.
camcorders back in the day. Now, we can actually get a little bit better products to actually film. So I said, let me just try this. So I actually just studied and learned as much as I could about everything with filmmaking, from color grading to lighting to camera angles to everything. And after that, I just said, hey, let's try this. Let's see if it worked. And the story for the Days of Night starts off like with every story, a very simple premise. But as I was making it with my brother, we said, oh, what about this? I'm like, oh, yeah. And then it's like, oh, what about that? Then we started to draft a backstory and actually give us a map for this character, because originally the title was called Get In, Get Out. It was about just an assassin given an assignment to go inside a house, grab an item, but during that he comes up with some neutral
Mhm.
supernatural force. But then it started to evolve and get a little bit more complex, and eventually evolved into the Days of Night.
Gotcha. So 93, you said 93 to 97, you worked at the movie
Correct.
theater. That's a pretty good time for films,
Oh yeah, Pulp
right?
Fiction came out
Yeah,
then. A Few Good Men. In the movie theater we were working was called First Run, and then went to a second run, meaning it was like a discount theater. So
gotcha.
like yeah, with A Few Good Men always being in there and seeing Jack Nicholson on screen giving that speech up there was pretty dramatic. But those 90 periods, it was a great period of films. I mean, there was everything coming out, Boogie Nights, and a lot of great directors were coming
Fargo,
around
like
it. Oh yeah,
the Coen brothers, right? And then
oh yeah,
Shawshank Redemption, 94,
oh
right?
yeah. On those films, the one film, Pulp Fiction, when we were there, people would actually come out and say, hey, what, I think the movie's broken. And I was like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, the characters are bouncing around. I was like, no, that's the way the story goes. So I was actually explaining how Pulp Fiction was
Oh, the
to people.
non-linear people were actually wondering that. That's
Oh
funny.
yeah,
Um,
they came out, they said, I think you put the film on backwards. And I was like, no, it's right.
that's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. So then they're always in the back burner. So you learn. So then what kind of what like you took the plunge of making this first film. So you wrote the screenplay, correct? When did you write the screenplay?
So I started the whole process back in March, and I probably took maybe like literally 30 days, 7 hours a day, just learning. And then after that, I just wrote down like some notes to how I wanted the structure, like in April. And then by May or June, we started filming it. And it was just one of those things, the camera angles. And the one thing I did in the movie was, majority of the movie is filmed in the morning, but when you watch it, it's looked like it's at night. So doing that day to night effect
Yeah.
took months to figure out, because it was either too dark, and then I started to figure out, I'm like, oh, I'll film at night, realizing that didn't work. So I had to film early in the morning, or when I was filming later in the evening, I had to use all these lights. I had to hide the shadows, hide everything. So just know, for first time filmmakers, don't make a film day to night unless you have time to
Yeah.
fix it.
But this is your education though, this film in many
Yeah.
ways.
Oh yeah, it's the final copy. I don't know if you saw the film, but that's like the
Of course. Yeah.
34th. Yeah, the 34th edit that I did to it to get it going. And that night sequence, I think it took me more or less like 3.5 weeks, almost a month, to get it right with the color grading and everything to give that illusion. And like you just said, I think I learned more mistakes on how to make a short film than what you see. And even when we were making it, there's still like some errors in the film, but I covered it up like with the night vision because the way the camera filmed it, some of the house kind of came out. It's kind of weird. It came out wrong. So I put that surveillance camera on there to kind of mask it. But,
Yeah.
you know, like in the end, it came out really well. But yeah, it was, I want to say it was a nightmare. A lot of trial and tribulations went into that.
So there's like there's a lot going on because you're giving it's like almost a character study of this guy. You
Mhm.
have that flashback sequence when he kind of dozes off. Like there's some
Yeah.
PTSD or there's some kind of some damaged kind of moments of his past. Let's put it that way, right? And then you have like he's got a like he's a mercenary, and it's like so basically, he's got to find like I think the plot like there's like thirteen
Families.
most influential families on Earth. Where did
Yeah.
you find the
So
13? Where did you get the 13 from?
so you know a lot of it's kind of based in fact and based in obviously fiction, just reading a lot and just looking at everything and just thinking, you know, if this was true, if there were 13 families, and you just kind of look back to the early America with JP Morgan, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all these families that actually built America, Westinghouse. You know, I was just saying, like, you know, maybe this assassin works because at first it was the mob and I was like, nah, the mob's not too tough, let's make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
So what you saw there was in the sequence was who he was before, and then the way it's written is that he gets recruited into this clandestine
yeah,
mercenary group that actually works for the families. And the backstory goes back literally, and that's what I was literally working on right now. The chapter one, where it starts off, where the families were literally here since the dawn of time through the feudal time, the Middle Ages, and get here, and
yeah,
they have a goal themselves. And what they did, and I just imagine like back in, you know, the 1500s when the kingdom was there, a king would hire mercenaries to, you know, keep the townsfolk, the fiefdom under control. And when it went up, I'm sure he would hide, you know, bring in knights and other people. So that's so the game, so the movie is actually based on the premise of chess, which I did research on. It's fascinating that the game of chess, no one really knows when it came out. They
yeah,
said, oh, maybe it came out 2,500 years ago. And then the question is, well, why would they develop chess? Was it entertainment or was it actually a strategic way to look at situations? So a lot of the knight characters actually based on the knight piece, and
yeah,
then the king or the families are on that king piece. So everything's kind of
yeah.
drawn out that way.
It's funny that you mentioned that because like look at the book, the I don't know if you read the book, The Art of War,
Yes.
which is how that's like 250 years old, right?
Yeah.
But the strategies are still effective. Like there's business strategies in there
Yeah.
from for today, right?
Yeah. With Sun Tzu. Yeah.
Sun Tzu, yeah. And then you like you said, you have chess, which is this legendary old game, right? That I play a game
Yeah.
every day of my life, and I think I learned something new out of it too, right? And it's so funny that but then it's sort of like you're kind of telling this modern story, but everything's kind of the same, I guess, right? From a
Yeah.
power standpoint.
Yeah, it's actually with evolution, I imagine, and there's a backstory, and like with every short I'm going to do, and I just have four figured out. I said, let me just tell. It's kind of like a comic book. Let me just tell like a quick glimpse of this and open up the aperture with every story to kind of show who these people are and what's involved and why, you know, this pack got destroyed. Like, what is the catalyst that destroyed it? And you know, I wrote this backstory. You know, it took me like 2 weeks to write it out because I'm trying to think like how would it be, like what would it be the goal of these people going forward. So once I wrote that, now it's based on like the chess piece and how they modernize and how technology modernized. Where back then they would use a sword and bow and arrow, and now they have tanks and guns and missiles and, you know, automatic weapons. So it's like this progression of evolution, and that's how the families, you know, constantly are evolving. And like that's why I wrote in, so is their arsenal. So whenever there's an issue, they would bring in these knights to actually go
Yeah,
quell it. So a lot of the theories haven't changed, like you just said, from the Middle Ages to present day.
yeah. Like because the king and queen stay safe, and then they throw out the kind of muggles to get it done, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. And with every piece, you know, like the rook has a certain skill set, the bishop has a certain skill
Yeah,
set, the pawns have skill set, and then with the queen, obviously the queen and king, and the queen be the most powerful. Obviously, she has a skill set to actually do more. So we'll get into like all those
you got to
pieces in
keep
the
the king
subsequent.
queen safe though. You can't. because then you can
Exactly.
get you can't get it out too soon because like because
Yep.
then you can
And
get
then
cornered, right? So if the game's too busy, right? So yeah,
and then with the rook, you can do the castling move. So if there is a problem with the king, you can do the castling move with the rook to actually shield him from whatever threat is
yeah,
coming in. So I was looking at that game theory, chess theory, and then applying it, then actually with the chess pieces to see how chess evolve over time. And a lot of those ideas are in like the future scripts that I'm
yeah.
writing.
Well, the amazing thing about chess is that is like I said, I could play every day, right? With anybody, I can play 20 times a day. And it's the same thing with poker in a sense where like
Yep.
now you can play so many times. Before you would have to wait for someone to play, or you would like you would have to wait for your friend or your whatever. Now you could just keep on consuming yourself with the game,
Right.
get better, right? So
Right, and that's the fascinating part about chess. It's like they, if you read about Wikipedia, it says like it started in India, but it gradually made its way into Europe, and the pieces changed, the names change, and some of the rules change, which I think is fascinating how they did it. But it always makes me wonder why. Like, why did that happen? Like, what is we were just talking about? Like, what is the importance of chess? Why was it played? Was it obviously for strategic purpose, entertainment
mhm.
purposes? But someone created it for a reason.
Well, it's a lot. It's like a lot of inventions. It's more about the invention that catches on, right? Like
Right.
what I was just talking about a game. Someone invented skee ball. Why did skee ball catch on? Like why is that still around like 130 years later? Whereas
Yeah.
like other games just kind of like come and go, right? So,
Yeah.
but chess has that like the art of war. Like certain books, certain literature, certain stories, they just keep on reinventing themselves, right?
Yeah, then you look at chess, going back with the computer and with I think calls Deep Blue playing Kasparov, I think it was, where they had a computer playing a human and it constantly
Yeah.
evolving, but the way the human mind can work, I think Deep Blue beat a couple times, but still it's such a strategic move that every in chess, like every move you have to be three steps ahead. And that's kind of like the way this movie is. Everything is for a reason. The
Yeah.
way they set up the knight character, there's a reason for it. And we're gonna end up gradually telling that story as to why.
In the ponder. It's funny because during COVID, chess went up in popularity, like I think like 250%.
Oh yeah.
And that movie, like that's why the series Queen's Gambit was this huge hit
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix, but it just people were wanted something to do. And then basically they took up the smart game of chess. And it's still
Yeah.
popular today. Like it's
Yeah.
that hasn't that 250% hasn't decreased at all. It keeps on going. So it's like it's had this new renaissance in the last like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I always played it, against my girlfriend, and she would get mad. But then all of a sudden, she started getting really good at it, and
Yeah.
now you actually, have to make those strategic decisions. Who do you move? Why do you move? And like you said, every game could start off with a different piece, and you have to think, what is this person trying to accomplish with each move? So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's a great game to play.
Where most people are in their heads. That's what I've learned
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
they're still thinking about themselves, right? Which is a good metaphor for life. When you
yeah,
interact with people, because people are still thinking about them, they're not seeing the room, they're not seeing everybody else around them, right? So
yeah,
you can take
yeah.
advantage of them.
Yeah, everything's strategic in there,
Yeah,
and the concentration level's so high that every move could actually be your last move. So it's a great game.
yeah, yeah. Good. It's a great metaphor for life. So your film looks really interesting. It's got a unique kind of vibe to it. In the way you described it, it seems like it was like trial and error, and you kind of came up with this interesting look. So congratulations.
No, yeah, thank you. The one thing too, when we made it was we just wanted to be different and unique. And the one thing when you watch it, the pacing is very quick. Because I said, which I realize now, another mistake. It's the less time you have to tell a 3x story, the more decisions you have to make, and actually gets harder, not easier.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, I just figure, the way I look at the movie is like a roller coaster ride. Like that first opening is like you in your chair in a roller coaster gradually going up, and then soon as he starts going, you're going up there on that ride. And that's what we want to do, just make sure that when people saw us, they were engaged and they couldn't guess what was going to happen next. So when they see the guy, they see the pills, and actually those pills aren't what people think they are. There's actually a purpose for them. But then the dream, you actually see this person's actually not who you think he is. Like you in the beginning, you think he's this assassin, which he is, but there's more to him. There's layer to him, and some people were saying when they reviewed the movie, they said, "Oh, was he fighting his inner demon, or was that actually a demon he was fighting?" So people were thinking about it, and I think that's something that we were trying. Our aim was to get people just to remember and think like, what is going on here exactly, like with all these pieces that are moving. So that
Mhm.
was a goal. And like I said, and like I said, it came out. I think it came out good, and the response has been received. It's been shocking to me. Like every time I see a response, I'm like, wow, or people, their interpretation of it is fascinating. Where someone comments like, oh, it's Jason Bourne and James Bond. I was like, is it? I don't remember that, but if that's
Yeah.
how they see it,
It's
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 great.
the reference point, right? Of what they know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that was great to hear from a lot of people.
So you're working on the prequel, right? Right
Yeah,
now?
so chapter one, we're gonna go see who how Knight became Knight in the circumstances that were there with him, and then with two, so with every film, there's gonna be a different vibe to it. So this one is it's like less of that elevated horror, more of a action vibe, a little sci-fi in there, and then with the second one, we'll go back to our horror route. So when you see the each subsequent film, there's going to be a unique look to it, a different story, a different vibe, but it's the same characters. It's just not like your typical sequel that you see. So that's our
Gotcha.
goal that we have planned.
And so do you see it like a feature film, like putting them all together and having a feature film of it?
Yeah, so the goal now is just to do four of them to tell the story. Then after that, and as I'm editing now, I'm literally writing the script, like saying, "Hey, we can start off here, do this." So I think after the fourth one, I'm just going to do a script and actually go on to some other projects that we had. And when we were talking earlier, one of the projects was in that movie theater that I worked in was actually haunted. So there's a ghost story there I want to tell, kind of based on what I had and with the people. And it's easy to write because I don't have to make up characters. These were, people I actually work with and they're characters in themselves. So, that'll be fun to do after
Yeah.
these ones.
Do you remember like I'm curious, it would be curious to see where everybody you worked with at the movie theater, where they are now, what they're doing 30
Yeah,
years later.
that would be interesting because at that time when we were there, most of us were in high school. There's a few folks that were a little bit older in their early 20s working there, but it was like a, a 10, well, maybe 15 people worked there. So it was really intimate. Everyone knew each other. Everyone got along. And like I said, it was a fun time. There was a good vibe, but also, everyone knew that there was this, so-called ghost upstairs in the projection area. In the projection movie theater, it's so loud. And I was a projectionist for a couple of years that when
Yeah.
people come up, they tap you on the shoulder. You end up like screaming yourself because you can't hear them. And inside, you're thinking, "Wait, is that ghost here or that's somebody else?" So it'll
Yeah.
be a fun story to do.
I obviously I'm at the movie theater a lot, and I like going in the projection room. It's kind of has a
Yep.
cool vibe to it. So
Yep.
you very rarely got you people are the normal people allowed to go in there. So
Yeah.
basically, so
Yeah. And with,
you
and with Oh, I'm sorry. I
but
was gonna say with those platter systems back then, because I'm not sure how they are now, but back then with the film on there and the way it was going, it was so loud that when you went up there, you had a walkie-talkie that you would
oh,
have to
gotcha.
literally
Yeah,
listen to. So that whole vibe of that, the sound of the mechanics of the film going on, I think there will be a real nice aesthetic in there. And for people who love movies, people who work in movie theaters will be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah. Everything's DCP now. They just mail it. They just mail
Yeah.
a file to all the theaters, right? So
Yeah, because back in the day, we would actually have to go to a theater, pick up the film in cans, and actually
yeah,
build it on the platter system, or physically pick up the film and put it like in a trunk or in a minivan
yeah.
and carry it up into there, then put it
You
on the
gotta and
platter.
you got a certain license to do that job too, didn't you, back in the day?
So when I did it, it was OJT, and I was there for about a week with another person showing me it. But like once the film started wrapping or came out unspooled, it was a nightmare because you have to
Yeah.
splice everything. And when you're at a second run theater, you would see some of the movies that you would just cut so much out because what happened, you're watching the movie. It's like one of those Mystery 3000 movies because there's so much scenes taken out because something happened to the film along the way.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So it was interesting. So when you go to the second runs, you definitely get a second run experience.
So just before I leave you, just to go back, so you said you had a football scholarship. What school did you play for?
So I went to Wagner College in New York City, and I played strong safety down there, and I tore the ligaments in my right ankle. So after 2 years, the game of football was no longer fun. it was just too much pain to go through. I was
Yeah.
taking a lot of Advil and getting my ankle taped up. So I ended up after 2 years went to school in upstate New York in Cortland, just south of
So
Syracuse.
how's
And
your ankle now? Is it okay?
oh yeah, yeah. It's well, it's I tore the ligaments, and when I was getting a cast, a doctor yelled at me. He's like, you should just broke your ankle. It would have healed quicker. I'm like, I trust me, I didn't do this on purpose. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you still follow the sport because that's sort of a kind of like the new kind of world modern sport. It's so popular in the States.
Yeah, with college football, it's one of those things. I think it's still well, now you have like this NIL deal, but it's still so pure because it's just 17-year-olds or
It's
22
never
year olds.
it's never pure. It's pretty
Yeah,
shady. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. There's something going on, but I
Yeah.
think when you watch it, just that whole atmosphere of the
Yeah.
college
Oh yeah, it's
campus,
keep
it's
storming the
something you can't do.
field and then the college yeah, it's a cool
Yeah,
vibe on Saturdays,
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And the other do you have a team in the NFL that you follow like you root for?
Yeah, when I was in San Francisco, I had a business
Oh, come
decision,
on.
a business decision to
Yeah.
make. I can either become an Oakland Raider and take the BART there, or I can go down to take a bus. There's actually a bus that went to Hunters Point, and in San Francisco, it's a little rough neighborhood. So I was just doing the math. I was like, 65,000 people in Candlestick Park, a bus with 50 people, or taking the BART from the Coliseum back into San
But you said
Francisco.
you're
So
from Albany, like you're supposed to be a Bills fan. I don't
yeah.
understand.
Oh, the Bills broke my heart in the early '90s with
Yeah, they
Jim
broke my heart
Kelly.
too, but I'm still a fan. That's what a fan is.
Yeah, I and
Yeah.
being both from upstate New York, you remember at 4 o'clock it would switch to the West Coast, and a lot of the games that I saw watching
10
was the
a.m. Yeah.
Raiders. It was a Raiders game, so I said, oh, something like these guys are just
Can't do
something
that.
to them.
That's not appropriate, but I'll give you a pass. Bills all the way. You have to go for the Bills. Look at on your blog interview, your favorite meal, buffalo wings.
Oh yeah,
Buffalo wings is your favorite meal. You are an upstate New York kind of guy. You have to go for the Bills.
and I will, and I do
Part of
like
the
them now with.
initiation.
Oh, I love them now. I mean, Josh Allen, great quarterback, and the whole team is great. I mean, I'm glad they came up better and with the city, and I think they're building a new stadium out there as
Yeah, they
well.
are.
So
It's
Buffalo,
next door. They're yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be great for the city of
We
Buffalo.
just need to win a Super Bowl. Then I can sleep better at night. Yeah, it's all I care about. No,
Yeah.
it's not all I care about. But basically, from a sports level, it's all I care about.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. Actually, it'll be exciting to see. I mean, it'll be great for the Buffalo fans after four those miserable times going to the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
that we like I said, they like four. I was a teenager, just like you. We're
Yeah,
basically the same age, so I was
yeah.
there all 4 years.
And Jim Kelly was, that whole Buffalo team. I remember them all, with Thurman Thomas and Kenneth Davis and Daryl Talley and all them. And Pete
Andre
Metzelaars
Reed,
and
Bruce
on.
Smith, Cornelius
Oh yeah,
Bennett. Yeah, yeah.
oh, they were stacked, and I always thought, like this year they're going to win the Super Bowl, but it was always something. And but one thing too, those guys always play their hardest, and that's you can't take away from the other teams, and the Bills did that. But Scott Norwood, I feel bad for him when he missed that. And there's a documentary I think it's called "The Four Seasons of the
Yeah,
Bills." It's on,
yes, they
yeah,
30 for 30. But
yeah,
so she should have been cut the night he should have been cut the year before because I'm such a nerd. They lost against Cleveland 34 to 30 and Jim Kelly threw an interception, but he missed an extra point that game. So
yeah,
basically they should have cut him that year. I was calling it as a teenager. And then so this year we got our team's doing pretty good. We're 6-2
yep,
as per this
yep,
podcast. But we need to cut our kicker.
yep,
Needs like after he missed that 47-yard against Kansas City, we need to cut him. Basically, no
yeah,
more no Norwood. We learn from our mistakes. I don't care how much money he's getting paid. Just cut the guy and let's get some new kickers in. Anyways,
yeah.
you can tell that I care. All
I
right.
hear
You
you.
very rarely you meet somebody from upstate New York. Well, what a great origin story you have. And then basically it seems like you're on your way. It seems like you have the time, you have the capabilities now to make films, and you're making your dreams come true. So it's a great story.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And like I said, the good thing now is now I actually have the ability to do it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the big thing is I'm having fun with
I
it.
was
And
gonna
if
say,
anything
just
happens,
have fun.
yeah. Yeah, it's fun. And now the next goal for next subsequent films is just actually, hire professional actors or professional cameramen,
Yeah.
professional special effects. I think working with those folks would actually make it even better. And actually, I think too, that the filmmaker world is just community. And I noticed that in this profession, you get more rejection than you do
Sure.
with a positive. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I notice on Instagram and Facebook is a lot of people just supporting each other, and I think that's great. And hopefully, maybe we can all work together and actually create something really great. See what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, the two things I would tell you, the next film, always, yeah, keep
Yep.
moving up with the crew, keep moving up, keep getting better, and do things that scare you. I know it sounds like a
Yep.
cliche, but do things that keep scaring you because that's how you grow. So
Yeah,
those are
yeah, that's the
like
one
that.
thing too. Yeah, just taking tons of risks. I figure
Yeah.
we'll learn from it, but I think that's the way to go. I think playing it safe, like you said, not going to learn anything.
All right, let's talk again when you make your next film is made, and looking forward to seeing it.
Awesome, Matthew. Thanks a lot.
Thank
It was
you.
great talking to you.
All right.